Welcome back to the Barrel Talk Podcast. This is episode 159. Joined with Connor Carson's Nick went on the call. This is going to be our first episode, kind of breaking down every team's season, giving their season a grade, and then going into the offseason thinking about some things that they can do to better their roster, kind of the direction they're going into the future of next year. But I'll start out with talking about the New York Giants and what they can do and what they have done this season. So really, nothing really good coming out of this season. I gave the season a D. It was kind of tough because a lot of the ownership and GMs were getting a lot of flack because Saquon Barkley's doing so good. Like, it was just a tough spot to be in for a Giants fan. You had paid Daniel Jones. He's no longer on the roster. And then you chose to pay him over Saquon Barkley. Like, now Saquon Barkley almost broke the rushing record this year. Obviously, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. He's a big reason, a part of that. So I could have gave it an F, but I gave it a D because you obviously hit on a star player in Malik Neighbors. You always got to give a team a little bit of grace at that point because he's a stud receiver. And with the different quarterbacks they had in there, I feel like his production never really wavered, even for him being a rookie. So you got him. I really like Tyrone Tracy, what he was able to do this year with kind of a poor O-line. I do still like Wando Robinson has a 2. I think they have some good talent on that defense. They just need some other players to kind of bring that all together, and that's going to come down with really coaching in my aspect. But you bring back Brian Dable, which Giants fans kind of up and down about. I'm not too mad about it because I do think he is still a good coach. I just feel like he's kind of been dealt a terrible hand, kind of like how Saleh was in New York as well. Just there's only so much you can do when the quarterback plays that bad as a coach, to where at some point it's on the players, not the coach. And I feel like we're in a world now where sports is quick to fire a coach rather than blame a player. So I think that is still good. But looking at some of the stuff they did as a team, 31st in points per game, 22nd in rushing yards per game, 30th in yards per game total, 28th in passing yards per game. So offensively, just abysmal, pretty much. Yeah, you can't move the ball. Defensively, 20th in opponent's points per game, 23rd yards per game, and then a 27th ranked O-line, which I didn't really put the O-line for a lot of the teams I did, but I knew the Giants one specifically was a big reason why they are the way they are offensively. And then really, the free agent market is kind of like iffy because doing a lot of these offseason breakdowns and everything is kind of hard from the NBA's perspective because the NBA has like Fans Pro and they have a really good trade machine that's really, really accurate with draft picks and salaries. It's just hard to do that in the NFL, and the NFL trade is so much different than something like the NBA. So trades and stuff like that, I kind of really stayed away from in terms of like, I'm really looking at your cap, your draft position, what you did coaching wise, what you could do for the future. But in terms of free agents, I'm going to bring back Isaiah Simmons and Adoree Jackson. I feel like those two guys on defense are pretty solid foundations for what you're building over there. And then what you do have to work with, you have $47 million cap space this year. And you got the 3rd pick in the draft. What you need to do really is just improve the O-line. That's going to help improve the run game, which is going to make it easier on any quarterback you do have under center. And then you got looking to get a QB, obviously. This is a big thing for the New York Giants past couple of years. A lot of different arguments you can go. You can go in the draft. So you have guys like Sam Darnold out there as well. Different options depending on what falls for you and what falls your way this offseason. And then I would honestly look to just go best available in the draft. You're kind of in a weird spot because you're at 3rd. And you could easily see double QB or somebody trading up above you. Like we've seen the Raiders be rumored to want to trade with the Browns, who are in a weird spot as well, to where they could take one, they could not. Same with the Titans, like they could take one, they couldn't take one. Like they're in a weird spot, but I don't think Shedeur and Cam Ward, you guys can chime in on this as well. I don't think they're worth trading up from 3 to 2 or 3 to 1 and giving up extra assets when you could just take best player available and be fine.
I think the Titans are going to go Travis Hunter. Like, I think they're going to go him no matter what. Like, their guy already said, like, yeah, you can't pass up, like, a generational player. Like, you can't do it. So which makes me think that they're probably going to run it back with, like, Will Levis. Or if they really want to do something, like, that's where you make your splash in free agency. Like, you get, like, a flyer guy. Like, I think the Titans could get away with having, like, a one-off quarterback for the year. I don't think it's too crazy. Like, you got players like Russ who are going to be a free agent, or you got, like, Justin Fields, or, like, some of these younger guys. Like, I think you can go with a flyer and then look at quarterbacks next year. Well, you could solidify the corner and receiver spot at the Titans. Like the Titans ain't contenders, man.
Right.
This ain't going to be one pick is going to instantly make you a contender. So you might as well just embrace the rebuild and just start going now. Like your offense is fine last year. They ran the ball fine. Okongwu is going to be their starting tight end probably for a while. Your O-line's mid. You would need a new receiver. So like you have Travis Hunter who can play receiver, and then your defense has got loads of fun out there. Like just a bunch of guys. You just got a bunch of guys.
The Titans don't have that bad of a roster.
No, they
like
don't
on paper.
That's why I'm like, okay, like let's just take Travis.
Because you had Ridley, D-Hop, and Boyd, so that's not a terrible receiving room. It's just Will Levis and the quarterback. So I went with this.
Had D-Hop.
Yeah. Well, looking at some of the mocks that I did look at was some people. It's like everyone's different. I feel like this draft is very weird. A lot of people I saw were like Abdul Carter is like the best player in this draft. Like they could just add him, be blue chip prospect for their defense. Like same with what you said about Travis Hunter. But I just feel like Tennessee's in a position to where they're the number one pick. I have them in this situation for the Giants specifically. I think they're going to go Cam Ward. I haven't seen that. Yes, the Titans.
Okay.
So I have with the Giants draft selection, I was like, okay, what would the Titans do? I think the Titans go Cam Ward. And then I think this is where things get tricky for the Giants in terms of getting like Shadur. Because I think the Raiders are going to trade up. I think that's a big trending piece.
The only time you trade up if you're the Giants is if one of the quarterbacks goes one.
Right.
If Cam Ward or Shadur goes one, I think that's when you're like, okay, smoke alarms are going off. Like now the Browns actually really could take a quarterback, like and a quarterback that you need. Like we need a quarterback. The Giants cannot go one more year with having like a flyer quarterback. Like you need to go get one of those guys.
I just think it's going to be tough because I just see they're in a tough spot. If they were the second pick, I'm like, all right, we already know.
We're fine.
We know where we're going. It's just
you take him, I take him.
Yeah.
Like, so you took him. Well, I'm going to take the other guy. Like,
it's just tough because the Vegas is in the whim, so they have the Shadur connections as well. So I went in thinking I was like, you know what? Let's say the Giants miss out on a quarterback, right? Let's say things just don't fall their way. So I have Browns or somebody trading up and getting Shadur, right?
I think it would go probably I think Shadur would make the most sense for the Browns, and then Cam Ward maybe to the Raiders.
So I was thinking the same way. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Giants at 3. We're going to take Travis Hunter. Best player available at this point are the Abdul Carter.
What's the actual order? It's Titans,
Browns, Giants.
Okay.
So I was going, all right, so Travis Hunter.
Where are the Raiders coming in from?
No, the Raiders would come in from, they're still like 7.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So they're trading up?
They'd be trading up.
I would say the Browns could take him or the Raiders could take him either way. Okay. For the Giants situation, I was like, Travis Hunter falls into your lap. Perfect piece to kind of put your offense or your defense because you're looking at Travis Hunter. If he does do playing both ways, you're like, okay, he's not our one on offense because we have elite neighbors and we have Wan'Dale Robinson. So we don't really need him offensively as a receiver. You have
like other guys too. Like their wide receiver room is deep.
They got Slayton still.
So you can look at him as your like cornerback 1 for the future. That's part of your defense. And then you can have packages with Dable and his creativity to put him on the offensive side of the ball. So that's why I was like, you know what? We're just going to play it safe, take best player available. We're not going to trade up future assets and give up future stuff to go get kind of 2 guys you're kind of unsure about. Yeah. And we're going to just go for a quarterback next year. I have them taking a flyer when we get to the free agency. But in terms of free agency, so you have Travis Hunter at your 3rd pick. And then it's interesting because I also looked at like some of the other teams and situations of good guys in free agency that could just leave their teams just because of cap space. So Zach Martin is a free agent for the Cowboys, and he's on the older side of it. And I'm just like, with the Cowboys, and they're actually negative right now in cap space, but they're gonna have to restructure Dax and CD's contracts to open up about like $56 million or something like that, from what I did research on. So Zach Martin, with the cap space you do have, can be, if you threw him a 1-year bag and just overpaid for a guard just to kind of shore up that O-line and go for a guard next year or something like that, he could be somebody that you could give a little bit of a payday to. I know he's on the older side, but this whole line needs the improvement, especially somebody that can help improve that run game as well. And then cornerback-wise, I have you going Travis Hunter, I have you getting C.J. Henderson from Pitt. And then for the quarterback, I do have you taking a flyer on Justin Fields.
I like that as well.
I think because you could give him kind of the Sam Darnold realm of like 10, 15. You have a 1 year because you're so unsure about the quarterback so far in this class. You end up with Travis Hunter. You have elite neighbors. You have Wan'Dale Robinson. You have Tyrone Tracy. like, and you have a coach in Brian Daboll who has more of a creative mind offensively than Pittsburgh. And I think if you put a running quarterback, a real athlete back there with Neighbors, with the weapons they do have on offense, I think this offense could take a jump. It's just adding another layer that Brian Daboll could use.
Offense.
Yeah, it would be.
It'd be interesting.
And I think it's better for the Giants to take a flyer than to like shoot for the stars for Shedeur or Cam Ward and it doesn't work and then you're in the same position you are in. At least Justin Fields isn't going to hurt your cap. You're going to give him a 1-year flyer to hopefully see what he can do. And you're going to give him more of a situation than you did in Pittsburgh to see what he can really do offensively with good weapons around him. So I don't hate that. I was thinking at Sam Darnold too, but I'm like, Sam Darnold's just going to be a little bit too expensive. It's not like a 1 year. You're paying him at least 2 to 3.
Like 3 years.
You're going to at least sign him to a 2-3 year deal, and you don't
want that. You don't really want to do that. So I'm like, Justin Fields, still young. I feel like it's interesting what Brian Daboll could do with him and what they do have offensively. Just him as a running threat as well could open the offense up. I just think he could be a better version of what Daniel Jones was giving him towards the end. Right. He's a better athlete at this point, better arm at this point as well, just throwing the ball downfield. But I just think it would be interesting, and I feel like they're in a spot where like they could use something just 1 year of like maybe just solid quarterback play, and I think Justin Fields can give you that. I mean, the Steelers don't have the season they do unless they have Justin Fields playing as well as he was to start the year. And I think people got to look at that.
Yeah.
So all in all, you're getting Travis Hunter, you're adding some pieces to your defense, you're adding Zach Martin has somebody that can kind of shore up and give you a more solid player on that O-line to help with that run game, which is going to help Fields out even more. But looking at this, Giants kind of strike out on the quarterback in this situation.
Yeah.
But you end up with Justin Fields, who still has some promise, in my opinion, putting him with a good offensive-minded coach, good weapons on the offensive side. Your defense is mid, but I feel like the defense could really just improve if the offense just got any kind of life in them. I feel like that's kind of hurt their defense.
Better defensive lines earlier in the season. They were in a lot of pressure and then had some injuries.
I think they still have one of the better defensive lines.
Because you have Burns.
Yeah, Burns, Thibodeau, and Dexter Lawrence. All the quarterback.
And now you're adding, in this situation, Travis Hunter to your secondary. So
yeah, that could be interesting.
So if your offense can kind of just be middle of the pack, I think that defense could eventually take off because you do have good names. But at this point in the offseason, yeah, you're taking a flyer on Justin Fields. It might not be the most exciting thing for Giants fans, especially when they're bringing back Daboll, which I still think is a good coach. But you're ending up with Travis Hunter, probably the best player in this draft. So I'm like, you're getting him at 3 because of the quarterback need in the NFL. I don't think this is too bad of a spot for the Giants to be in if they did go somewhere of this route. Just because they're kind of in a weird spot at 3 in the draft, so where like the bona fide guy isn't really there for them for the picking. Yeah. And I'm not giving up another first round pick to trade it for anybody.
Please no.
If anything, you could trade back. I've seen mocks where like you can possibly trade back. Like maybe it's like Cam and then Travis Hunter, and then you're like, you're really not confident about Shedeur. Then you like figure out some.
I think they are. I think if
it's just weird.
I think you definitely gave them like the rundown if they do miss out on both quarterbacks, which is a huge possibility. I mean, the Browns and the Titans really need quarterbacks, but I think I see one of them taking Travis. Like I don't think Travis.
I do too.
So I do think that they are gonna take. If Shedeur's there, they're all Shedeur. It's gonna be Shedeur to Neighbors all year, and then if it's like, okay, well, Shedeur's gone. Like you took my guy, well, I'm gonna take the other guy, and we'll see who like ends up doing better. So I think the top 3 is definitely solidified. It's just the weird order it could go in, and yeah, you're definitely giving them the version where they miss out on both.
Yeah, this is if they were to miss out on both, which could possibly happen, because I've heard a lot of talks of like, briefly, with the Browns possibly getting somebody like Kirk Cousins as well, which they would end up being like, okay, we'll just trade back, hopefully get some future assets because we're in such cap deficit right now to help fill out and build our roster that way. And then Vegas is like, you know what, fucker, we'll give you a first next year to trade up right now. So it's just like, so it's just tough to see. I can see a world where it's like both QBs, but like you said, it's such a weird order in the top 3 to 4 right now to where like Giants could strike out and miss out. And I feel like if they went somewhere like this route, you bring in Fields, some of the guys that I said you bring in, I think you could be in a really good spot. And then you're just kind of hoping if your offense gets some more life, it's going to help your defense that's just kind of the mindset I was going if they were to miss on a quarterback. But that's kind of what I have for the Giants going forward.
I like it.
But yep, that's all I have for the Giants. This will be kind of the first of our off-season talks and our off-season videos. These are kind of going to be short and sweet, right to the point, because we got the NFL free agency and the draft. It's going to come up quickly as long after the Super Bowl, so we're going to be getting these out as well. We're all going to be doing specific teams that we chose as well going forward. But that was all I have for the Giants. You guys want to wrap it up there?
Yep.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Barrel Talk Podcast. Hope to see you tune in the future episodes.